When a child is really engaged in play, there is a sense of excitement, delight, enthusiasm, motivation. They want to take what you have, use it, and then they've got new ideas about what they want to do next. There's just this excitement in the air, and they catch it from each other, and they build together on ideas. You put something out, and it's sort of the basic format, and then children bring their own ideas to it. They build onto it, and other children come and they add their ideas, and it's this thing that's ongoing and natural and growing. And it's excitement, it's involvement, it's engagement in its truest form.
When we watch children playing together, using their ideas and imagination, having fun and pretending, we're seeing learning in action. Children who enjoy play and are captivated by it are constantly stretching themselves, figuring things out, continually building new skills and understanding. But not all children play with zest and enthusiasm. See how the child on the left is just dabbling with the Play-Doh. He appears indifferent. He's not even paying attention to his actions. If his behavior persists, we can say that he has a play problem, and we call this play problem dabbling. In this program, we're going to look at children who dabble, children who appear to have little interest in play, who don't seem to enjoy play. If we don't help them get involved, these children won't learn and develop the skills that others are gaining daily. Not all dabbling behavior is immediately noticeable, but there are some behaviors that tell us a child is dabbling. Let's look at children the same age and see some of the differences in their play. These 4-year-olds are trying out all the things available in this tub. They're busy and interested, experimenting with the water and brushes, intent on washing the dolls. These boys are also intrigued and discovering what they can do here, figuring out what happens when they squeeze the bulbs filled with water. But this girl is clearly not engaged by her play. She isn't focused on what she's doing. Notice how repetitive and passive her play is. Here are some of the things we can look for that tell us children are dabbling. Lack of engagement. We are not seeing that keen interest and curiosity that shows a child's mind is involved in what she's doing. Immature play. We may see that a child is playing below the level of most others her age. This tells us to look more closely to see if she might need some help. Play that is static. We should also be concerned if a child's play is static. Are we seeing the same things day after day? Over time, we should see a child's play growing and changing, becoming richer and more complex.
When I think about dabbling as a play problem, I sometimes think back to when I was training as a teacher. And we learned a lot about child development and a lot about the stages of play, but we never really talked about the fact that some children might have difficulty playing. I just assumed that all children would know how to play. And now that I've been teaching for a while, I see that there's a wide range in how children play. And that information that I learned, the child development in the play, is still important. In fact, it's crucial for knowing about the stage where the child is and what that next step might be. But now I think I look also at the quality of play. I look to see if the child's engaged, if they can lose themselves in their play and are involved and interested. And I also look to see if they, with experiences in the classroom, their play changes and grows.
Teachers constantly observe children with different levels of skills and experience. like this 5-year-old girl who's new to painting. She's experimenting, enjoying the colors, discovering how the paint flows, what her brush can do pushed against the paper or held lightly in her hand. The 5-year-old boy next to her has already had many opportunities to paint. He's now beginning to create pictures that show more control, and he's beginning to work to represent real objects. Despite the differences in their play, both children are playing with intensity and investment. Neither is dabbling. They simply come to painting with different levels of experience. The behavior of a child who dabbles looks very different. The boy on the left isn't showing any real interest in painting and doesn't appear to be connected to what he's doing.
My starting point for learning about a child who is dabbling is to observe over a period of time. All children dabble sometimes, so what I'm looking for is a pattern of play behavior to see if the dabbling is fairly consistent. Children dabble for all different kinds of reasons, and sometimes by observing the child and reflecting on what I know about the child, I'm able to discover some reasons that might help me intervene and try to support the child. You know, I'm not trying to make a child like a 3-year-old play like a 5-year-old. I'm not trying to hurry development, but what I am trying to do is enable every child to fully participate in play in the stage where they are, and then be able to do that next step. To me, that's what a truly competent player is.
When children continue to dabble in the midst of many play opportunities, it's time for teachers to step in and offer help. Let's look at some of the ways a teacher helps a child who dabbles because she doesn't seem interested in play.
Rolling. Yeah. Beth is looking at that Play-Doh. Play-Doh. A large part of my role in the classroom is to work with individual children who need help with language or concepts or developing some play skills. And what I've learned is that all these areas are related to the children's play. Beth has very little language, and that's our primary area of concern for her. But language that isn't connected to meaningful activity just doesn't have meaning. And for young children, meaningful activity is play. Beth shows very little interest and sometimes very little involvement in play. So a goal for her is to help her to focus and to engage with materials. Beth, here's your Play-Doh. Here's your roller. I usually start by modeling play. Typically children at a beginning level of play, like Beth, are involved in exploring and manipulating and finding out what materials can do. So by watching me explore, I'm hoping that Beth will get more involved. And I'm also trying to model my interest and show her that play is fun. Look. Fish. Okay. Fish. Fish. Look. Fish. I'll do that. Fish.
Right now we move some of our chairs because the camera. You may stand right by
Fish. We made a fish. What else could we make here? Oh, there's more. I also look for opportunities to extend Beth's play, and one way is by adding materials. I want to keep her interest and enrich her exploration and help her find new things she can do with the Play-Doh.
Carrie has helped Beth move from dabbling with the Play-Doh to becoming very interested in what she's doing.
It's coming out. It's all gone, all gone. Play-Doh's all gone. Let's put some more in. Play-Doh in. Oh, here comes my Play-Doh. It's coming out. Squeeze it. When you start to play with a child, though, you have to play at the child's level. A key to all of this is to watch Beth and take cues from her. I really try to be sensitive, and when I make a suggestion, wait and give her an opportunity to respond or not to respond. This kind of turn-taking keeps me from taking over the play and really makes her more successful.
Now, let's see how a teacher supports Felicia, a child who often dabbles because she doesn't know how to make materials do what she wants. Watch as teacher Susan Lazarick notices that Felicia has gotten frustrated with her attempts at block building.
What happened? What are you making? Did you fall down? Did you have them up on here? 3 in a row. 1, 2, 3. Now what did you have on top? Felicia's one of those children who really wants to play and has some idea of what she wants to do, but often when I look over her, she's not actually playing. She doesn't seem to know what the materials can do or how she can make things work for herself. And so she dabbles. She may move a block back and forth, but can't go anywhere in her play and seems really frustrated. And that's when I know I need to move in and help her. Will it stay on there? It rolled right off. Is there another way you can put that on, Felicia, so it will stay? How else can you put it on? What else can you do? You can stand them up. Does that stay better? That doesn't look so wiggly.
Listen how Susan talks about the play, defining the problem, to help Felicia understand how to add more blocks. Susan continues to explain what's happening, pointing out things for Felicia to think about.
On this side. They won't fit. Whoa, that's good. Shall I move this over a little bit for you? Give your hand a little more room. That's right. Good. Look at that, it's getting taller and taller.
As Susan continues to talk Felicia through the play, she prompts her to plan the next step by asking her questions.
Do it. Are you going to put any across here? What are you going to put? Do you think that will fit? Or do you think it will be too big? Give it a try. Let's see if that works. You're going to try to cross the top. You're going to take that one off. You did it, and it didn't fall over. When you're working with a child like Felicia, it's always this temptation to hurry it along, to help her by actually building for her. To say, let's do it this way. And when you do something like that for Felicia, you've taught her how to make your building. So what she can do is go back and build it again and again, but she can never figure out what do blocks do. If I turn it on its side, is it going to do what I want it to do? If I stand it up, will it work? The goal of helping a child with a dabbling problem is to teach them how to play, but don't take over the play. You want her to be able to make her own buildings and come up with new ideas and to feel very successful.
Teachers can't always take the time to work with children individually, but they do have other resources to help children. Perhaps the most powerful resources are a curriculum and an environment with opportunities for many different kinds of play.
I think the most important thing that as teachers we need to do is set up our environment that really meets the needs of young children. And that means that we have a great amount of time for children to play, and that the activities that we set up are open-ended so that children who at varying levels can get involved in the play. They have to be activities that are hands-on and enticing, that are going to have children get engaged. Real objects, blocks that have things to play with, little people, little bears or cars and airplanes. Play-Doh that has wonderful things to roll and to press, Play-Doh cookie cutters, that kind of thing. Dress-ups, things that really involve children and say, come and try me on. I want to try this out.
Even in the midst of a well-planned classroom, there are children who don't seem to make connections, who don't show any interest in the play going on around them. A child may not know how to get started, or may even complain of being bored. It's then that teachers can pull ideas from their curriculum to help draw these children into play.
When you find children who are not becoming involved, then you have natural things to go to. You can say, look what I have. Today I brought something new for the playhouse. Here's a hat that I thought you might really like to try. Or here's an airplane that I've taken out of the box. This is brand new. I bet you would really like to play with this. Come and let's put this in the blocks and see what happens. So you've got your environment that's naturally got all kinds of possibilities to help you interest a child in getting engaged in play.
Sometimes the most effective way to encourage a child who dabbles is to pair him or her up with another child. We'll never have enough adults in the classroom to give all the adult intervention that we'd like to give. And what I'm finding is that peer intervention sometimes works even better. A child who loves play and who's enthusiastic can model engagement. And a child whose play is slightly more mature can really act like a play leader and direct the activity and add ideas and advance the play. I try all kinds of combinations of kids, and sometimes I'm surprised at the ones that work the best. But what I do know is that children learn from each other, and sometimes that happens naturally in the classroom, and sometimes it takes a little bit of my support to link the kids up, and then I'm just delighted at the play that occurs.
Now, let's look at some ways teachers use the curriculum and peers to help bring children who dabble into play. Stephen, who has just turned 4, is a child who's capable of quality play, but is often seen dabbling.
When Stephen plays with something that he truly loves, he's very intense and very involved. But if it isn't what he's totally captivated by, he's lost. He dabbles, he wanders around in his play and can't figure out what to do. And what I've discovered is that I want to help him grow as a player. I think he can, but he needs my help. He needs help from within the environment, within the curriculum. And so what I've tried to do with him is to think about what really captivates him, and then how can I lead him to new materials, new and interesting things to play with, often starting with something that's a real favorite for him. What do you think of this green water and tube?
Yeah.
You think this is a good thing?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I was thinking last night, Stephen, of what I could find that you and a friend might like.
A dump truck.
A dump truck is what you would like the most of all? I think I could maybe get that down later today. But you know what? I knew that if I put fun things on this table that you might come and look at it and try it out. And I'm glad to see you playing with Alan. When you work together, you can really fill up that tube. You know that there's another pour.
Oh yeah, let's use that.
Alan, there's 2 of them. Look around on the table because there's 2 funnels.
Oh, look it. It's gonna get down in the water table. So it can go up. It's the other end of that thing. Oh yeah, it'll do that. Let me see. Don't do it right close to the edge. You want a bubble, baby? Yeah. They want a bubble. Let's do it again. Let's do it again.
One of the things I've discovered as I've watched Stephen is that what really works for him is finding a friend, finding a peer in the class. And what I look for are children who are older and have had more experience that he's interested in. It's always so interesting when you pair children. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. It's really a matter of trial and error. Watching the child helps a lot. Watching who do they stand by, who do they want to sit next to at the rug, who do they go and watch their play, or who do they ask to play with them. Trying to find good combinations and doing it over and over until you find matches that work well. And we see that for Stephen. Who does he really want to be next to at group time? Well, those are often good choices for playing partners. Lately, the payoff for Stephen is that he's beginning to grow as a player. What I see him doing is walking over to children like Alan and saying, "Will you play with me?" Or, "I got this good book about trucks, will you help me build?" He is reaching out to others, and he's open to the ideas of other children, which hadn't occurred to him before, that they had good play ideas. So he's growing, and I see a much happier child.
Sometimes a child who's been playing well comes to a standstill. Crystal has enjoyed the housekeeping corner for some time, but is now just dabbling.
Crystal is a wonderful player. She has spent such a long time in the house corner. It's the place that she loves. She cooks food, she makes tea and coffee, and she decides what everyone's going to eat, and she invites other children to join her. But as time is going on and she's done all the things that one would do at home, other children have left and gone on to other things, but she's still there. And in this last week or so, what I'm beginning to see is a little girl who sits with her baby in the rocking chair and rocks and rocks and rocks, but can't think of what else to do. You could tell that Crystal was just stuck. And I think that for Crystal, the thing that she needed to do is to be able to take her babies out of the house, to move on. So what I asked her is, what would happen if you used the big blocks and you took your babies somewhere? And all it took was a very simple thing, moving the shelves out of the way. There were a wall between the blocks and the house corner, moving them aside and letting her expand her world. Crystal? Sweetie, do you think you might want to go someplace with that baby today?
Yeah.
Where would you like to take your baby?
Over there.
You know what we could, do you want to take her downtown?
You get the dump truck?
You know what we could do? How are you going to go downtown? Well, what if we moved the shelves and you could build a bus to go downtown with your friends? Would that be a good idea? That would be a good idea because we don't want you to sit too long, okay? Stephen, you know what? We want Crystal to have a chance to do some building and she needs some friends. Will you help her build a bus so she can go downtown with her baby if I move this? Oh, look. Look what I found. Look what I found. A book about buses.
That's all I need.
You think you guys can use this to figure it out?
Yeah.
Well, take a look. See if that helps you figure anything out.
Big windows.
One of the exciting things that came out of helping Crystal move into the block area and combine the housekeeping the blocks was that the little boys who had spent lots and lots of time building in the blocks were also able to suddenly think about bringing the dolls out and bringing out the dressing clothes so that they could enrich their own block play. And so not only did Crystal grow, but she discovered friends that she could share new themes with, new combinations of children began to play together, and everyone benefited.
We've watched how teachers work with children who dabble for a number of different reasons. A child like Beth, who seems indifferent to play, needs to be eased into play and shown what she can do. We saw how Carrie modeled play for her and added materials to keep her interest and extend the play. Felicia dabbled because she didn't know how to use the blocks. Susan helped her by explaining what she could do, by defining the problems, and by prompting her with questions. Although Stephen dabbled at some activities and not others, Susan felt it was important to extend his experience, and she used the curriculum and peers to pique his interest. Sometimes a child who's a good player just gets stuck. Crystal needed ideas and a little support to try playing in a new curriculum area and to get involved with other children.
It's really important to remember that not all children develop play skills as easily as their friends do, that some children take more time. And if you're watching them and you see a child faltering or struggling, that you need to step in as a teacher. You can't just assume that it's going to get better without your support. And your support might be simply prompting the child or guiding the child or practicing alongside a child or finding a friend or changing the curriculum. But that play, in order to get richer and more complete, needs some support sometime from a teacher. Felicia, do you want Chris to see it? You need to go and touch her arm and say Chris. Go and get her. Go and touch her arm and say Chris. She didn't know you wanted her.
Show me how you're gonna tell. I'm gonna follow you.
What's this? What's this?
You did this? You made it. My goodness. But it's really tall.
I see how tall it is to me.
My goodness, it's up to your belly button almost.
You know